Australia has over 400 known massacre sites. But go try to find them. You'll walk past without a clue. No plaques, no monuments, nothing. You're watching Buried Australia. Comment massacre and follow if you believe Australians deserve to know their real story. Think about it. Every town has war memorials for soldiers who died overseas. Streets, statues, cenotaphs, they're impossible to miss. But where are the markers for the massacres that happened right here, on this soil? From the 1790s frontier wars to the 20th century, Aboriginal people were slaughtered, entire families, entire nations. Researchers have mapped more than 400 sites, and the real number is likely far higher. Yet the landscape stays silent. Why does a country that prides itself on remembering choose deliberate forgetting when it comes to its own crimes? Imagine if every massacre site had the same recognition as Gallipoli. Would Australia be forced to face itself? Or is that exactly why it doesn't happen? Do you think towns built on massacre grounds should have to tell the truth? What would that do to our national identity, to the myth of a peaceful settlement? The absence of memorials is not an accident, it's part of the denial. Because if you acknowledge the killings, you admit the nation is built on blood. Drop your thoughts in the comments if you think truth belongs in the landscape, not just in archives. Share this story with others and follow Buried Australia. We won't let silence win.
There was no such thing as massacres. There was no such thing as frontier wars. I've studied the complete history, read over 9,000 pages on the subject. The Aboriginals in this country were still living in the Stone Age when Captain Cook came here. They were still fighting amongst each other like they had done for about the last 60,000 years. I've been taken to Aboriginal war grounds where over 100 Aboriginals killed each other over women. I lived with the Four Bloods for 6 straight years. The map, with all the information you're talking about, was developed by Lyndall Ryan, a professor from the University of Newcastle. The real numbers of Aboriginals that were killed during apprehensions and retribution killings by native police is 6,100, all up Australia-wide. That has been removed from Google, and Lyndall Ryan, after her first year of an 8-year study she did on it, put the numbers at 6,200. Then she put the numbers up to 8,400 for no reason, no physical evidence other than information brought on by Henry Reynolds and Robert Orwell Jensen to historians that were later had to admit on public television that they fabricated numbers. Have a listen to this little recording about Lyndall Ryan herself.
For him to say that you did make up figures, you're telling me you made an estimated guess.
We're always making up figures.
Yes, we're being killed.
Okay, but
The diaries, however, record only 4 Aborigines being killed in this period.
It's a devastating claim Ryan cannot refute.
right. I certainly agree that the Lockwood diaries say that, but I
100 Aborigines. The diaries, however, record only 4 Aborigines being killed in this period.
It's a devastating claim Ryan cannot refute.
right.
So in a sense, is it fair enough for him to say that you did make up figures? You're telling me you made an estimated guess.
We're always making up figures.
There was no such thing as white Australians massacring Aboriginals. If you go to the real history, it was Aboriginals killing and carrying out Stone Age practices on colonisers, and retribution actions taken to find them by native police as well as troopers and citizens. In and around 1838, white men, convicts, freemen, they called them, the people that had served their time and became free men in the country, banded together after there was some rapes and murders that had taken place by some Aboriginals and small tribes of Aboriginals that were running around killing people. Well, this group of men accidentally killed some Aboriginals while trying to apprehend 2 men, and they were hung. There was 7 or 8, I believe, hung for attacking the wrong people, which was said to be attacking them, sticking up for their mates. And there was a couple of men walked free instead of being hung, and they were the men that had the wives that were raped and murdered. They let them walk free, you see, but the government chose to hang all those other men as an example of what happens when you kill the wrong people. The true and accurate state of the situation was that the Aboriginals were still coming out of the Stone Age and thought that under their law they could go and kill anyone they wanted to. And this was the justice, the civilization, the development and beginning of civilization in this country when white men came here. And you will note that there are several well-documented books with the hundreds and thousands of native police that joined the police force, joined the army, and joined in the development of civilization in this country against the Stone Age tribes that were running around raping and killing people. And this included other Aboriginals. See? So let's get a clear understanding in all of this. Let's not paint a false and fake narrative to try and develop guilt of white Aussies, of the good white Australian Anglo people in this country. Because when you start reading those thousands of pages of history books, you get the one story. Every violent act started with Aboriginals running around killing Anglo-Australian colonisers. And the other thing you must remember too, when the Aboriginals did get hold of machetes, there was a ban on machetes. Yeah, down in Liverpool, in the Liverpool district, they were hacking people to death with those big hatchets. Well, they were called hatchets. I'll call them machetes, right? So they went from spears and rocks and clubs to knives. And that's when there was a terrible amount of trouble started. There were small groups of bandits, well, small groups of Aboriginals, tribal Aboriginals that were running around robbing and killing and raping people. That's the reality. So wherever I've debunked a lot of your videos on my other accounts, and what I see is a consistent narrative here that you like to paint, and that is that the colonizers were brutal, massacring, uncivilized people, when in fact they were very kind-hearted and made a lot of Aboriginal friends that lived on the stations and worked on the stations and married the men on those stations. And henceforth, what we have now is thousands and hundreds of thousands of part Aboriginal people, part Anglo and part Aboriginal people in this country as a result of the love that was developed between the two nations. What I see through your narrative is a constant destructive ideology, which is fake and false and very misleading. And I've talked on this subject to a lot of my brothers and sisters, and they are shocked to learn the truth. And the truth is that only 6,100 Indigenous people were caught up in these retribution apprehensions, what they would call massacres in some form of frontier war, which is just a fake word to use. There was no war. And if you want the numbers of the Anglo people that were killed, that ranges between 2,500 up to 5,000 Anglo people were killed by Aboriginals, by wild Stone Age Aboriginals. So you can continue on your activist narrative, false and fake narrative, but one day there's going to be a book released that is going to have the absolute truth. And your fake and false and misleading narrative will be completely exposed. Because there are 1,000 activist historian writers out there that say the numbers were 500,000, 300,000. One bloke even reckons it was 1.2 million. Another one, 1.4 million. And then other writers say there was tens and tens of thousands of Aboriginals killed in frontier wars, when in fact the real and true numbers Australia-wide was 6,100, and that is the official police records. Have another listen to Lyndall Ryan. Hope you enjoyed the video.
They're always making up figures.
You're telling me you made an estimated guess.
They're always making up figures.
That you did make up figures. You're telling me you made an estimated guess.
They're always making up figures.